So when I told Soumya that you're going to be the queen, the first thing she said is, listen, if I'm going to be the queen, I need all the extra fittings that come with royalty. So I said, listen, I can't give you a crown. I'll give you a throne, that's for sure. She said, no, I'm not interested in all these materialistic things. I need 2 slaves to be sitting in front of me so that I look the part, I can act the part as that of a queen. So I tried to look around for people who would volunteer to be slaves. But it's very difficult, after the Americans banned the slavery thing in America and so on and so forth. But then, luckily, Soumya has some friends who said, okay, fine, we'll be your slaves for tonight. And may I introduce Alec Bailey as slave number 1. I looked far and wide, but I couldn't find slave number 2. So I had to volunteer to do it myself. So. Check.
Mic check. Mic check. Check. Mic check.
Hello.
Mic test.
Wonderful.
1, 2, 3.
Can you hear all of us? Thank you.
Audible.
So let's start by stepping into the shoes of the author for a moment. And he says, you must have spent hours in introspection. You must have read innumerable books and heard sermons or teachings from countless motivational speakers and endless advice of other successful people around you. But I am success. And I know the story of myself better than anyone else. Would you agree? I came to you in the form of this book to reveal to you the secrets of success. How I approach people, how people approach me, how I smile at people who try to reach me, how I continue to be a companion of those you call successful people, how I invade and embed myself in some people, why I avoid some people, how I play hide and seek with some people. It is best to hear this multifaceted story straight from the horse's mouth, unadulterated and not manipulated by the color of emotions people put up.
Wondering, who am I? What do I look like? What are my characteristics? What are the paths which will bring you closer to me? What are my likes and dislikes? What are my value judgments? How do I differentiate between good and bad? Every being since the beginning of creation, from single-celled organisms to complex organisms like human beings, have always wanted to be friends of mine, companions of mine. They have always wanted to reach and retain me, guard me in their households. Many people have tried to reach me employing numerous methods with varying degrees of achievements. You must have read stories about me. approaches to me, companionships of mine, from the seekers of the paths towards me. At best, they're only a small part of a complex reality. This attempt to define me is as if four visually challenged people are trying to describe an elephant by each touching a single part of the elephant without seeing it in its totality. So here, this is my archaic roots taking shape in a modern day mold to tell you my tales by the name of Selfie of Success. I tell my own story from the perspective of the summits and valleys of efforts you will have to make to reach me. All the connected issues in the coming chapters are divided into 5 parts. I start from how you may feel my presence around you, how to recognize me in this distinct presence. I give you a structured syllabus to approach me, even how to make a habit of attaining me in all your endeavors, along with the advantages and disadvantages of retaining me with you forever. Any story written or told about me would never have mentioned the side effects of my companionship and the sins and costs of retaining me. I do not want anything to be left undisclosed to you. So I've made every facet of mine available for you to see and explore. You may wonder if I am feminine or masculine. It's all left to your imagination. But I am above all of this.
I may simply be defined as attaining what you want. My form is not physical or tangible. So do not bother looking for me with your own physical senses. I am rather a context which you are in. When I am with you, there are several things that start to happen around you and in you. People will constantly make efforts to be around you and try and impress you, praise you, and do all sort of things to get attention from you. The way you talk, walk, and live would have changed profoundly, coming as a surprise both to you and the people around you. This is more pronounced when you accomplish unimaginable tasks in a very, very short time as compared to the incremental attainment in a longer time. As a snapshot, I must tell you who I am. When I am with you, you become more attractive, you become more confident, and you are able to fulfill more of your material wants, which you've always harbored. You are able to achieve what you've always wished. The concept of snapshot of success, as we discussed, clearly reflects in the life of Oprah Winfrey. It does not matter who she is and where she comes from. The ability to succeed begins with her, as if success always opened its doors to her. At the age of 14, Winfrey broke free from the toxic and dangerous circumstances and went to live with her dad in Nashville, Tennessee, where she successfully started to take course. Her dad provided direction, discipline, and a sense of structure that Winfrey had never known. The stable and education-centered environment he created allowed her to thrive academically and socially at high school, where she became an honor roll student and voted the most popular girl in her class. Further reading on Oprah Winfrey would reveal more about the snapshot of success in her life.
Snapshot of Success, Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, as you all know, is one of the richest and most powerful American women. She's a sort of America's sweetheart, a woman loved and admired by everyone, worshipped by all types of TV audiences. Oprah Winfrey is also the chairwoman, CEO, and CCO of her own company, Oprah Winfrey Network. Oprah Winfrey had a very difficult childhood. Her mother, Vernita Lee, a housemaid, and biological father, Vernon Winfrey, a miner and later a barber, were never married. When Oprah was born, her father was far away in the army serving at a naval base. Oprah's mother moved to Milwaukee to work as a maid, having left little Oprah on a farm with her strict grandmother. If Winfrey misbehaved or did not do what she was ordered to, her grandmother often beat her with a stick. At the age of 6, she returned to her mother. Oprah lived with her mother for only 2 years. At the age of 8, having stolen some money from her mom, she ran away to live with her father and his new family. Oprah stayed with them for a year until her mother forced her to move back. Oprah was raped by her 19-year-old cousin at the age of 9. As it turned out later, her mother's numerous friends and relatives repeatedly molested Oprah. Her mother abandoned a 14-year-old pregnant Oprah, and she recollects that her father saved her from a homeless shelter. From then on, she lived in a nurturing home with her father. At 19, she became the first black female assistant to Nashville's evening news anchor. Before she graduated from college in 1976, Winfrey was offered a position of a reporter in Baltimore and a co-anchor of 6 o'clock news on WJZ-TV. She worked there for 2 years and then received an invitation to become a host of the WJZ's local talk show, People Are Talking. In 1984, having spent 6 years on WJZ-TV, Oprah Winfrey, then 29 years old, was invited to Chicago to host WLS-TV's low-rated half-an-hour morning talk show, AM Chicago. A month after Winfrey had made her debut, AM Chicago achieved its highest rating for a year. Within a year, the rating of the morning program hosted by Oprah soared up by 50%. In 1986, Oprah Winfrey became the television presenter of her own talk show called The Oprah Winfrey Show, which later helped her skyrocket her career. Oprah soon became the highest paid television presenter in the show business. The show was a massive hit, and the episode with Michael Jackson, which aired in 1993, became the most watched interview in television history.
Synopsis of Success. If you recapitulate the snapshot of me, you may remember, I am but the attainment of things and experiences you yearn for. For the attainment of this feeling, you need to play your part. Just as for a math problem, when you are equipped with the right tools, there is no room for error if you follow a systematic way of reaching me. In other words, I am a greater expression of the inner urge within you that is throttling you. There is an inner desire that wants to take an external manifestation. So once that is done, that is success. Different people may perceive me in different ways. I may mean one thing to a certain individual and something else entirely to another. For one person, it may be a most undesirable disease, a thing to be discarded, or a feeling to be removed before it fully blossoms and is only budding. For someone else, it may be the only object worthy of desire, a treasure whose value is beyond measure. Who else knew better than J.K. Rowling about the synopsis of success? Having hit rock bottom, she rose like a phoenix. Rowling faced rejection repeatedly, but constantly strived for success. as she knew the synopsis of success very well. She worked hard to know more about Rowling, the author, and her journey. Read on.
Synopsis of Success, J.K. Rowling. Rowling had a challenging life full of struggles and hardships which she had to fight through and remain spirited. She described herself as having been as poor as it is possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless. She had a failed marriage and a daughter who depended on her, but she couldn't provide. Her books went on to break all sales records in literary history, and the Harry Potter franchise is valued at a whopping $25 billion. Rowling's drive to have her stories read by people around the world came true and turned into a beacon in the literary world and has become synonymous with the word perseverance. She was plagued with depression and expressed her fears and pain as Dementors in the Harry Potter series and helped her own healing through her passion. She contemplated suicide at a point in her life, but ultimately chose to let her failures fuel her drive to achieve. Had she been disheartened by the rejections of publishing houses, the world would be short of a gem called Harry Potter.
The water pump. A young man stood next to a water pump. In his hand, he had a cup full of water and an empty bucket. The sign on the pump said, "To get water, first prime pump with 1 cup of water." The man looked at the cup in his hand. He had enough water now, but he knew he'd need more later, and that's why he wanted to fill the bucket. But should he actually use the cup of water? What if the pump didn't work? He thought about using only half the cup. Perhaps it would work. Anyway, just with half. Then he'd have half in reserve. Of course, that half cup wouldn't last him very long, but he didn't want to think about that. He felt much better having held onto that cup of water. Eventually, he got thirsty, so he drank some from the cup. I hope the pump will work with less than a cup of water, he thought. I don't really have a cup to spare. Then a young woman came up to the pump. She took her cup of water, primed the pump, filled her bucket, and began to walk away happy. "Wait," the young man said. "How could you so easily give up your cup of water to prime the pump? Weren't you worried about whether it would work or not?" "A little," said the young woman. "But if it didn't work, I'd have to go find something else anyway. Maybe the cup wasn't going to last that long. So why not take the chance? It was what I wanted to do, and nothing was to be gained from holding on to my 1 cup of water."
Signals of success. When you are ready for my companionship, you will find signs and signals around you telling you the same. You will have found great value within yourself. The people around you will find more worth and value in you, and you will be able to concentrate more on things that you had always wanted to own, improve, and wish dearly for. You will be acknowledged by your seniors for doing better at work. The people below you will start seeking your advice and support. You will feel at ease at your job and enjoy the work. With this feeling, you will find dissatisfaction and stagnancy and strive to achieve new heights and expand. You will find more time on your hands due to an increased productivity and have time for other ventures as well. An urgency to explore new horizons will propel you to greatness.
Seeds of success. I'm happy to share that my seeds are always with you in your body, mind, soul. My seeds are present everywhere. My seeds are ubiquitously distributed all around the world in every form of nature you can see around. I'm there in trees, things, rivers, seas, oceans, valleys, heights, young children, aged, hospitals, hostels, playgrounds, and so on. My seeds are in every possible particle of matter and thought. But beware that my seeds can only grow to their fullest potential as long you care for them, rear them, and continue to nurture tirelessly until the seed itself can grow into something greater that will nourish you. The moment you withdraw your attention from them, they stop growing and they may become ugly and a liability to you instead of being an asset. It's like a carefully manicured garden, which is beautiful to the eyes of the beholder when groomed, or a nightmare when neglected.
For Isaac Newton, the falling apples from the tree provided the seeds of success. Till that moment, millions of people might have observed the phenomenon of falling apples or any other fruit falling from the trees. But no one had seen the phenomenon with an intensely inquisitive and analytical mind as Newton. After that moment, the rest is a wonderful scientific achievement in the history of science and Newton's inerasable place in our textbooks. Read on for more understanding on Sir Isaac Newton. Seeds of Success, Isaac Newton. A man after his dinner would always go to the garden to drink his cup of tea and rest under an apple tree. For the first few days, he would blend into the ambience of the place, but soon his interest was piqued when he started to notice apples fall from a tree. He started wondering why the apples always fell perpendicular to the ground. This thought and this very analytical insight introduced the world to gravity. Isaac Newton was a man who gained success not only with his research, but also with his detailed observational and analytical skills. Success doesn't approach everyone, but anyone can progress towards it by climbing the ladder of analysis. If young Newton had not been in a contemplative mood that evening, perhaps he wouldn't have been in our science textbooks, and someone else could be in the world of triumph. Sometimes a eureka moment is probably right there. You just need to step out of that cage with an insight to examine and analyze it and create wonders that no one ever imagined.
Scenes of success. The scenery of success is vibrant and pristine. These places are wonderful and miraculous, something to be dreamed of. It is very glamorous, and the people in these areas are called celebrities, giants, prophets, and deities. The scenes of success make every job a magnus opus, every place a blessed and endowed land, every person a gifted individual. Each and every individual, bereft of my presence and in areas that I do not visit, feel that the people with me are gifted and they could have my possession in its entirety because of their hard work, divine blessings, etc. The profits of a successful business would soar high into the skies. Everyone would hear of these ventures and establishments far and wide, and the individuals involved would be showered with fame and prosperity.
Now, those were excerpts from the book. We've tried to give you a feeling of the kind of stories that Venkatesham has used, the kind of metaphors and similes, and the kind of depth that he went into when he was trying to explore the many facets of success. So then we came to a stage when we asked the Queen that Normally, at the end of a book reading of any sort, the floor is open to the audience for questions. And the Queen finally did something which was very, very typical, very, very, well, unexpected, but still. She said, listen, I've done my job as the Queen. Now it is time for the King to come and take the stage. So may I please invite Mr. Venkatesham to come and occupy the throne.
A warm good evening to everybody who has come here to listen to this and to understand this book. The basic idea of writing this book is, like in the initial readings they have given, everybody wants to be successful. We work hard to succeed in order to be happy. These three words are very important. We work very hard to succeed in order to be happy. But as we see the world around, it's not my own story or my personal story or a place like Hyderabad or people whom I know. It's not the story of anybody. The story of the world, story of the people. So when we observe the story around the world, what happens is people are working hard. Some of them becoming successful, some of them are becoming happy. But we are able to see many people who are working hard, becoming successful, but not happy. There are many times we are seeing people are working hard, they are successful, they are happy, but others around them are crying. There are times we are seeing they are happy, they are working hard, and they are successful, but there is big destruction around. And there are people who are working hard, being successful, without being happy side. They go on working towards success. So in the process they get exhausted themselves. So the basic idea of putting all these thoughts into a book form is to ask three questions. One, what is your intent to be successful? What is your intention to be successful? Then, what is the content of your success journey? What tools, what methods you are employing? Then, what is the context you would like to see once you are successful? So, intent, content, and context. These are three important elements. So, many books, because I have been reading some books, hearing lots of stories, people around have been saying it. No book ever thought of putting the darker shades of success into limelight. So my intention is not to make threatened about the success. Everybody has to be successful. But why this success is needed in your life? Why? If your intention is to be happy, then no need to be successful at all. Happiness and success, if you compare, happiness is a state of mind. Without lifting a pin, you can be happy. But success is a result of culmination of your efforts in one particular direction, whatever your desired goal it is. So it's a more glamorous route towards success, towards happiness. But many people think, as all the books across the world, if you see, they say, once you are successful, then everything is happy afterwards. Lots of glory, lots of happiness. But unfortunately, that is not the case. If that is the case, then entire world would have been happy. See, somebody's success is creating a sorrow story